Hello, my name is Julie Allen from Julie Allen Consulting, and today I'd like to create awareness of World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October by sharing 4 questions that will help improve mental health. In terms of asking those questions, there are 2 things that we need to consider. First of all, I'd ask you first to consider your 5 senses. I'd ask you to think about what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you can touch. And then ask you to consider what you experience on the inside. In other words, the mental experiencing. If you pick any object, for example a lemon, you can almost experience that lemon in your mind as you would have in the real life experience of experiencing the lemon with your 5 senses. And so in the matrix that I have here to share these 4 questions, we have the 5 senses at the top of the matrix and the internal mind mental experiences at the bottom. In the middle we have noticing the difference, and that's you noticing the difference between what goes on in the internal world and the external world. What you experience with your 5 senses and what you experience with your mind. The other line that I have in the matrix here is the away and towards. And again, in the middle, it's about noticing the difference. So the question here is, what does it feel like to move towards something that's important to you? And what does it feel like to move away from something that's important to you? So I'll start with these 4 questions. The first being, who and what is important to you? Well, if I ask you that question, some of you will say, my partner, my pet, friends, and family. If we then look to the second question and ask then, what internal stuff shows up inside that takes you away from who and what is important? That yucky stuff that shows up inside in the internal experience are things like fear, anxiety, stress, frustration, and even self-doubt. Coming to the 4th question of the matrix, moving into the external world, we ask the question, what is it that you do to get rid of the unwanted stuff? In other words, what are the things that you do to get rid of fear, anxiety, stress, frustration, or self-doubt? Well, in terms of stress, there are some of you might say, well, I drink alcohol because that numbs some of that feeling and it makes me feel better. Others will say, I will watch TV. Some of you may take medication to reduce the anxiety. And some of you may simply avoid and isolate yourself from what you feel is causing the fear, the anxiety, or the stress. And the 4th question that we ask in the internal world is, well, if we think about the context of improving our mental health and we say, well, who's important to you? This question is about, well, what moves could you make to improve your mental health that moves you towards the who is important? Well, if we consider your partner, or for example friends, it might be about taking time to spend with family and friends. The one person that's also important, which we didn't include here, is you. And you might also need to, in terms of improving your mental health, is perhaps schedule some quiet time. For me, I would turn the radio off in the car in the commute on the way home from work, and that will allow me just to take some me time and just to relax the mind and take in the five senses. We might also say it's about taking the dog for a walk, which is the exercise that perhaps we might need. We might also maybe monitor our screen time to see how much time we're spending on social media, to avoid the feeling of fear, anxiety and frustration. Well, you might ask, how are these 4 questions going to help me improve my mental health? Well, what you will be doing is, by using the matrix and asking yourself those 4 questions, you'll be noticing the difference between what is going on in your mind and what is going on in the external world. And you'll be noticing what it feels like to move away or towards what matters to you in life. And it's the moving in this direction, even in the presence of difficulties, that will improve psychological flexibility, which research now has proven to be the cornerstone of good physical and mental health. Thank you for listening, and please practice the matrix.